Welcome to episode 7 of Local Perspectives. Today you'll get to meet my friend Jordan Mixson. You might know him as the Sockateur on Instagram, but his social media presence is only one dimension of his rich, layered personality. Join us as we take a retrospective walk through some iconic old city spots you've come to know and love. Jordan Mixson, so nice to have you.
It's so good to be here, Teddy.
Here in the Milky Way galaxy.
You know, that's just how I'm dealing with Rona. You handle your business on Earth and then you leave Earth. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to win. I've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, just give it time to run its course and then you can come back later. And thank you for making yourself available despite your being interstellar. Right?
Anything for you, Teddy. Anything for you.
That's friendship is all about.
That's right.
I'm hoping you'll oblige me. I have this ritual that I'm developing where I play an improv game with my guests to start out, just because I'm a nerd. And this one is called One Word Story. It's a very common warm-up exercise where you and I will build a story using one word at a time. And the fun part about it is that it's not scripted, it's just spontaneous. I will start and we'll see how it kind of organically comes to a resolution. And then
Boy.
And then we'll go from there. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll begin the story one word at a time and we'll just go like back and forth.
Got it.
G.
Loves
Every
person
bearing
gifts
when
ever
he
comes
down
to
the
oh, it's so bad. It comes down to the front
door
every
mailman
living
in
Jacksonville
runs
oh oh man oh man forth
runs forth. I think that's a good closing image. They run forth. And that's how that works. That's one of
the oh man.
Mochi
It's like that's like rapid fire word of the day that you get from dictionary.com and like woo words.
Yes. But it's just a fun exercise to get in a certain headspace. So yeah, I mean, but truly, Jordan, like, how are you doing? What are you doing to cope with the pandemic? Today we're recording on a Sunday.
Yeah.
How's your day been so far?
Today's been pretty easy. Some odds and end things I've been doing around the house and actually setting up pictures that I was taking yesterday. I was out with friends yesterday. You know him, Kevin and Christy.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
we decided it was kind of like we've been wanting to like do something since there's only so much you can really do besides going out to eat and depending on where at best. So I pitched, why don't we just drive down Heckscher and take photos of some areas? And so it was a socially distanced photo walk / drive. So that was a really good time. And that's kind of one of the things that I've been doing to cope with the pandemic is even before this, I decided, if I'm going to be home more, I'm going to figure out something to stimulate my creative juices. And so I got some, like a backdrop stand and some cloth. And I shoot with a tripod 99% of the times when I'm doing self portraits or sometimes product stuff. Um, so I've used that as a way to kind of just keep it going. You just kind of adjust. But then fast forward to now, we did like a kind of a drive down on Heckscher Drive yesterday and took some photos, and I was doing some editing today. So I'm looking forward to kind of figuring out what's speaking to me at the moment. It was a pretty cool day yesterday, and got some really nice images. So on the other hand, there's been getting back into writing music again, because I took music composition in college as part of the curriculum when I was going to UNF as a music performance major, and I've been kind of inspired to write again. As I was telling someone else, like, you write, and then sometimes I feel like you're always writing in your mind until you feel compelled to put it into sheet music. And so I'm inspired to do that again. So I've been working on a string quartet.
Ooh, that's
So
very exciting.
yeah, I
Yeah,
look forward to it.
it's definitely a time where there's a lot of material to draw from, isn't it?
Mm,
Right. Um,
yeah, a
I
lot of elements.
Going back to your photo walk, I saw a little glimpse of that on your stories yesterday, and I was so intrigued. I got
Hmm.
very excited to see what's going to come out of that. Um, all those creative minds at work collaborating together. I had like a safari feel, the one shot I saw. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I took some video and I'm gonna compile that because I've been getting into some montage video stuff.
Hmm.
Um, where you're gonna see that for sure. Where there's definitely twists and turns and like um, led Kevin and Christy down to familiar with the Kingsley Plantation.
I've seen
Oh,
signs for it on the highway, yeah.
oh, you haven't been.
I don't think I've been there, no.
Really? Oh, okay. That's a very blip in the story of the South. But on the
Definitely, I
long
can
along the
imagine.
way,
Yeah.
it's an interesting national park slash nature reserve because some of the descendants of the Kingsley family actually still live on the property. And
Wow.
as you drive through, I think of it as a very crooked yet narrow U-turn type of journey. And there's also this beautiful house, the Reebok Club, that's famous for, it's connected to the family back
Uh-huh.
then. And nowadays people use it for weddings and social functions. And I've done some wedding gigs, quite a few wedding gigs back in the day over there. So kind of interesting being sort of the tour guide as we find other places to shoot because there's
Hmm.
some spots where the road is so narrow that you know either side is actually a body of like water in vortex pools. It's kind of a it's definitely like it's kind of a safari. It's definitely a safari for sure. So there's some fun shots. There's some fun shots even from there. So yes, I saw some things from Kevin and Christie's shots, and I'm very curious what they decide to do as well on their end.
There's a lot to look forward to there.
Hmm.
Just the other day, my family, we took a day trip to Cumberland Island, and there was a little museum type structure with a lot of really cool history that involved St. Augustine and Jean Ribot. And I remember going to the Historical Society in St. Augustine and just doing a lot of research on how he was neck and neck with Menendez trying to come over here and stake claim to the first coast, and how um, St. Augustine could have very well have been a French colony or settlement. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a really interesting, incomplete story, but very fascinating. I hope somebody uh, puts it to film one day. Somebody told me that I should write a book. I was like, wow, we'll see. But I really was very into the subject for a while. I went back to like the library at Flagler College and the Historical Society and just pulled all these interesting resources. There was actually a hurricane like that played into the whole thing with timing.
Hmm.
But so photo walks, time with fellow creatives definitely important, and then writing music. I love to see you put pencil to paper, like staff paper in particular, and I'm like, look at him, he's like literally composing music. I find that to be that's not something that I play the piano, but I don't write music. It's just not something I have a lot of insecurities about it. So I have a lot of respect for that. Are there certain settings that you feel are most conducive to that process when you sit down and actually start penciling in the notes?
Yes, there's definitely parameters in terms of when you're thinking of when you take composition, you also have to take music history with that, and a lot of the times you got to study forms. If we're talking about the classical in the classical uh, format, and so for me, it's interesting when you look at how other composers in the past sometimes they were just jotting down things even on a napkin. Um, while they're out and about, or they would go to their favorite place, or they'll go to their summer or winter home and just basically be hermits and just stay in there and just write out and be with their piano at the time, even now. So I don't have a piano, but I still have references to my college music theory books and notes, and I do have some digital references when I want to key in certain things for certain chords that I want to verify.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a pretty strong ear where I'm able to I know what pitches and range sounds like. So you're thinking about form, and then you got to think about instrumentation, and then you're kind of jotting down like preparing an essay, the intro, the body, and the closing paragraphs, and I compare it much to like writing an essay, and
Interesting.
sometimes things are going to change, and also thinking about the capabilities of what the instruments can and can't do, that often plays a factor, and yeah, those are some of the settings. And for me, I find myself more inspired to write in the mornings
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. Like lately, like I think I took like a photo um, where like it's coffee, and then there's my call it like my music diary, because I have like ideas that I plant in there, but then I have a lot of other sheet music lying around the house where I'm actually getting to work on there. So it's kind of like
Uh-huh.
the framework, the rough drafts, and then I take that rough draft and then I map it out um, elsewhere.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that leads me to a question that's going to kind of overlap with the music. What were you like as a kid? I find that to always be a very telling one. It's always a fun one.
I would say I was pretty much a happy-go-lucky kid. Got along with all my teachers. Um, I was the annoying big brother. um, Pretty much, like I did have a bit of a shyness as well,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I started getting advancing through um, elementary school, and yeah, I pretty much would get along with everybody, but at the same time, kind of keep to myself to kind of sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I would
Yeah,
surprise people when I crack a joke every now and then.
yeah, it's always, I feel like when there are people who are a little more reserved and don't have as much to say, when they do speak up, they have everyone's attention.
Hmm.
People want to know what's about to be shared. So at what point did the violin come into play? Were you still fairly little when you first started to play?
So I was a late bloomer when I started playing violin. I was 11, and I pretty much was open to anything, but my parents suggested, hey, why not try playing basketball? So I did, and I joined like this basketball group, and it was for the summer, and I was absolutely terrible. The concept of exercising only applied when I went to practice, and drink and I don't know what I was doing. I was kind of like, oh, I'm a part of a team. I was terrible, but to my credit, I did make two winning shots. But
Nice.
it was definitely like, oh, this is a thing. And then after that, my dad suggested, why not try the violin? Because I knew that was something he always wanted to play. And prior to that, they had actually talked about me taking violin lessons. It just never happened. They bought like a violin early on. I don't remember exactly how old I was when I remember that one, but there was an old violin. Then I have it in my room. It's just never been played, and um, kind of like it's technically my first violin, but I never played on it.
Hmm.
So right after taking basketball, being playing in a basketball summer team, I took private lessons at Suzuki off in Orange Park, and the
Oh,
first private lesson, it just clicked.
yeah.
It just clicked, and it was a situation where my parents never told me or forced me to practice. I wanted to practice,
Hmm.
and plus, too, I really had a great teacher. That Kyle Wayner. He was my first teacher, and then followed by Heather Turvey, that really just carried the reins on through, and then um, studied with uh, a few symphony players before taking it further into college.
So you mentioned the Suzuki school.
Hmm.
Your first instructor, were they doing the Suzuki method with you?
Yes.
Okay.
My first teacher, Kyle, he was trained in the Suzuki method,
Uh-huh.
and I, at the time, I knew what it was without. I knew I was a product of it without fully understanding it later on as it moved on to play more difficult literature and realized that there were other schools of thoughts on how to play violin and classical music. But yeah, my first exposure, yeah, my teacher, he was trained, and that was the requirement at the time, that to be a teacher there, you had to be certified in the Suzuki method.
Hmm. Cool. Yeah, I was never very good, but I also played the violin when I was younger, but it was like something that I was kind of uh, coerced into doing. Like in fourth grade. In fourth grade. I never took my instrument home. I did not practice until my junior year in high school. My junior and senior year of high school, I appreciated it and got excited about it. But every time we had to fill out, so up in New York, there's this thing called NISMA. It's like an annual music competition, but it's just basically an opportunity to perform in front of a professional and get graded, and you get like a ribbon and a medal and stuff like that.
Mm.
And they always asked you on the form if you did the Suzuki method, and it was always, it just like sticks in my mind. And I made mention of that when I had Katie on. We were talking about formal training and like alternate paths to reach, career goals, and um, I made mention of it with her. So when you said that, it kind of my ear perked up. Um, but yeah, I think it's great that your parents kind of exposed you to a variety of things. Because sooner or later, that thing is gonna stick. That just happens to um, resonate with you, or you have an aptitude for, like a natural
Mm.
ability. Because I I've never been good at basketball either, to the chagrin of many of my friends. And it was like something that would just cause anxiety. Like when I knew it was time to like play, I was like, oh, here we go. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep like going for it. But there was just like not much that I was. I'm like very balanced and like coordinated in so many other ways, like physically. But
Uh-huh.
man, for some reason, like running and dribbling at the same time, like, and just like all those like tricks, I was like, nope. I don't know what it is. I think it's like my arms are like longer than they should be. I don't know what it is, but um, it has been a long time since I played. Like I identify with Stanley from The Office. It's just like the most disappointing. They're like, oh, Teddy. Okay, I didn't know it was like that. Oh, wow. But anyway, you're in good company there. Um, so we like we take for granted that we already have you and I like a pretty rich history. I've known you for over 10 years, I would say.
Yeah.
I was trying to isolate exactly when and where we first met. And I have a note here, story of meeting at the Dome circa 2009, which is
Uh-huh.
also known as Kristen's house up in,
Yes.
yeah, up in Fernandina. So, yeah, she used to host dance parties and stuff like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember um, I had been living here like 4 years by then, and I took the long drive up there. It was like famous. Her house is like famous among everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
our neighbors to the north, we all like St. Aug and Jacksonville were very connected, and a bunch of us around that age, like early 20s back then, went up there for like a dance party. And I remember your sister teaching us all the African samba. I can't remember the exact name of the song, but
Magdalena.
thank
It
you.
was
Yes.
it was to Magdalena,
Hmm.
but I don't remember the actual name of the line
Okay.
dance to it. Wow, that was the thing.
That was the thing back then. I was so proud of myself after learning that because like any party would come up, I was like, all right, I got this. Um, but when I first saw you guys all doing it, I was like, they've obviously done this a million times. I was like fumbling around on the dance floor trying to figure it out. But I think she did like some more like one-on-one stuff at subsequent like more intimate hangouts later at people's houses. But so that's my first memory of you. Um, so it always involved like it involved the arts in its own way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was a good time. So, I you're the first guest I've had on that is not specifically St. Augustine based, and that's there's no need to constrict oneself to city limits and things like that because you are a remarkable example of somebody who is just so enchanted by this city, and you speak very openly about how much you like it. Um, so I thought it would be fun to revisit some of your photos that you've taken in St. Augustine. You are, a photographer in your own right. Um, for those that don't already know, you are the Sockateur on Instagram,
Hi,
and
everyone.
yeah,
I like socks and I like taking pictures. I like Jacksonville. And I like you too, St. Augustine. I want y'all to know that.
yeah, it's true. It's true. Like we have hung out in St. Augustine like after like planning to and going down there and meeting up there with friends. But I can't tell you, there have been a number of times where I've happened to be down there and we've just run into each other,
Yes.
because we were in the same place at the same time, your family, for art walk and different things. So you are a genuine, you know, appreciator of it. So I'm gonna hope that my screen share function cooperates here. And
Okay.
I set aside a number of photos that are really compelling and they really draw you in. You did a great job capturing um, the essence of some of these spots. And I just want to know as we go through them, like what feelings they evoke and what memories um, come to mind. And we'll jog your memory here. Let's see.
Sure. Yeah.
Share screen.
Always a good time shooting in St. Augustine.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that too. Our photo walk, that was
Oh,
good times. Okay, here we go. Do you see the Casa Monica shot?
yeah. Yes,
All
I do.
right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, such cool light. Um, Tell me what comes to mind with this. I'll read the caption too. Back in the days of the weekend hashtag project, cocktail hour at the Casa Monica Hotel. I sometimes take for granted that I live pretty close to one of the prettiest cities in Florida. I always stop by the rather regal and exotic Casa Monica Hotel. The harsh light and weather was spring perfection. You'll see a nautical inspired sock game in St. Augustine later, and you did not disappoint about that nautical theme.
Well, yeah, so a couple of things. It's every time I go into the Casa Monica, there's just that elegance, je ne sais quoi-ness about it. And one of the things that I love about Golden Hour in St. Augustine, it's just you. There's this consistent hue of light that hits around certain parts of town, and then inside there's that light inside of the wine lounge area, that lobby area, always hits a certain way, and it worked out because I wanted to kind of, to me, when you walk by, you're always curious about, well, who are these individuals that are meeting together? Some are shrouded in darkness, and sometimes others, cross through the light. And generally speaking, individuals are like they dress up when you go. That's always a vibe. Like folks go dress up to have a good time over there, and catch up and whatnot. So that coincided with, this is an era in Instagram where Instagram would do these weekend hashtag projects, and the theme was to focus on capturing images that focus on light and shadow. And I was in the area with my family, walking around like we generally do, and I wanted to go to Casa Monica because that's kind of a route that we always go through Casa Monica. And when I saw the way that light hit that gentleman, just that side profile and with the jacket, I just thought, oh, that was really striking to me because it really emphasized the criteria of the photo project.
Hmm.
And also just you get so much more from the image because there's all these other things going on beyond that individual. So kind of wanted to fill the frame with you have him as the main focus because of the light and shadow, but
Hmm.
then there's this backstory and you just kind of wonder what's going on with that, and you can tell there's a bit of a regal element going on there.
Yeah, very well said. I love how you captured that. My favorite thing about it is the light, because it leaves a lot to be um, interpreted and imagined, because it's just like more of like silhouettes and
Hmm.
so many different people's stories converging. It's just really interesting. So I'm glad you captured that. There was mention of a nautical theme, and I'm gonna hop forward to that one. And a day in St. Augustine is not complete without something involving water and vessels at sea,
That's very true.
right? So here is the marina, um, and you had commented that I'd rather pretend I was enjoying the breeze and the cotton candy sky this past weekend. I've decided to inject more Florida in this feed. Don't worry, the sock game is always in play, but with more context and then some. Have a good week. So you did not disappoint. You came through with the nautical shot. Um, would, was this the same day? Um, I should have looked at the. I know we're going back quite a while here.
Yes, it was. I
Okay.
think it was the same day, if I remember correctly. And that came at a point where I felt like creatively on the platform, I felt like I had much more to share, which was why I was participating in the weekend hashtag projects to better myself as a photographer
Hmm.
while reading other things online and talking to other people in photography. I just wanted to take my own stab at it. I was just kind of more inspired by the lifestyle content, which is what this is, before even realizing what that was.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was just feeling like, there's just so much more that I can share that just adds better context to how I dress the way that I do. And then particularly my favorite thing out of my wardrobe is the sock game. So yeah, that whole, I was wearing some like nautical theme mismatched socks,
Hmm.
and it had like an anchor and the captain's wheel, and it just seemed fitting when, because there's like a whole other picture like after that, but
Hmm.
prior to that shot, that's why I was shooting at that dock, because just the kind of connect the dots. I was trying to like make sure like folks can follow along why I took that shot and how
Right.
that relates to this shot.
Totally. Yeah, I love the way your mind works. Everything is very cohesive, and I would venture to say that there's not much that happens that's haphazard. There's such a big picture behind it all, and then it's like a joy to see it all come together and to realize what you were doing to weave everything together.
Hmm.
So it's just cool to hear you comment on some of
And
that like internal process.
and plus, I mean, it's such a pretty sunset.
Hmm.
That area near the Bridge of Lions was when sundown arrives. It's just you get a consistent mix of really cool colors, and it's romantic. It's a lot of it's soothing. It's I wanted to capture something that's just quintessential Florida,
Right.
and that's something that's very evident within reach when you are walking around St. Augustine anyway, because it's so Spanish colonial, and then you get this that's like, oh, there's a lot of different charming elements compiled into one area.
Hmm.
So that was something that's I'm like I cannot deny this photo. I gotta shoot it.
Right.
Try to anyway.
And like composition wise, it's nice that there's that ramp right down the middle. It's such a nice anchoring point, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, to
Um,
help guide the eye. Yeah.
yeah, excuse me, we had a little turbulence there.
That's okay.
I think there's going to be a lot of appreciation for this next shot as it involves coffee, and you probably know which one.